The real cost of running a business in London. Everyone loves the idea of running a business in London, but nobody talks about what it actually costs to run a business in London. London, one of the fastest cities in the world. It will test your business idea, it will test your mindset, it will test your character. Everything about you, if you're not strong enough, London will break you. Everybody loves the idea of entrepreneurship. Now, I'm going to jump on and touch on some of the things that you need to be aware of if you are in this entrepreneur space and if you are running a business in London. Now, if you are already here and if this is something that you were thinking about, then this episode is for you. Episode 2, from the ground up, build something that lasts. If you've ever dreamed of running your own business in London, or you're already in business in London and you're struggling, you ain't got no time, your business is consuming your entire life, you're not alone. This is what most business owners are going through, but nobody talks about it because they make it look and sound glamorous. I run multiple businesses in London, as I said before, in tech, workshops, retail, publishing, record label services, and I'm going to share some of my tricks with you and my tips with you that allow you to take your life back, yeah, and to not incur a lot of unnecessary costs in business that most people go through that they don't talk about. You got staff, you got compliance, you've got rent, you've got VAT, you got all types of running costs, gas, electric, right? How do you mitigate all of these costs that you've got with running a business? I believe I said insurance. There's so many overheads and there's so many things that can consume you in London, and your money can be finished before you even start. Now, this is one of the key subjects when it comes to running a business, and this is why we're tackling this so early on in episode 2. So how do you navigate that? The way you navigate that is cash flow. How fast do you make your money move? This is what's important. Reinvest before you reward yourself. We see a lot of people out here with nice things, and I'm not saying you can't have nice things once you have the experience and when it's time for a reward. But you don't just go out and spend your profit as soon as you make it unless you're spending it on stock, cash flow. Keep that money moving. Another thing you need is emergency buffers, right? How do you mitigate for an unforeseen circumstance? What is your emergency reserves in your bank account? And you don't want to be going into those knowing that you're not making any money. London will take from you whether you like it or not. So finance and money in business in London isn't everything, right? Because you're doing this for learning, you're doing this for character, you're doing this for legacy, you're doing this for so many other reasons to have freedom in the future. You're building skills as you're going along. This is what your plan is, right? So if you're having a hard time in the first 5 years, in the first 10 years, by the time you get to the 10-year time span, you should have systems. You should have smart systems that's allowing you to have freedom. This is where the key thing comes in, and your profit margins, when you take yourself away from your business, your profit margins should remain just about the same. This is what we're going to be talking about. Money isn't just the biggest cost, but it is the loudest cost, right? So you want to look at ways that you can mitigate this before you make that decision of glamorizing and getting into entrepreneurship. And this is what I'm here for. I'm here to help you get to this place with the minimum amount of losses. And within this, we also have to cover the emotional cost. What is the emotional cost of running a business in London? All of the expectations, all of the time losses, all of the stress, the fact that you might not have time with your family if you've got kids, if you've got a wife, you've got friends, the socializing aspect of it. Now, for me, the emotional and mental cost of this can be managed in various ways, right? And this is difficult because this is an area, once again, a lot of people ignore, but God willing, this is something I can help you with because I have been here. I have had all of these emotional costs that I'm about to mention, right? First thing, expectation. Now, yes, you want to tap into your community and you want to tap into your friends and your family when you're getting your business off the ground, right? But then what happens sometimes is friends, they don't really understand the dynamics of your lifestyle. They don't really understand the dynamics of your responsibility, and they don't really understand the direction, right? And what the objective is. However, this isn't any of their business. This is your responsibility. This is something that you are responsible for. This is your business. So how do you manage this, right? First thing that you've got to do, you've got to protect your mental space. Now, for me, one thing that I use, protecting my mental space, meditation. In the evening time, anytime I get some free time, I put my device on YouTube and I run a meditation video, something that's going to calm me down, right? Now, if you're religious, prayer. Prayer is massive if you're religious. Now, for some religions, they pray 5 times a day. Now, you can see this as something that's taking you away from, the stresses of running a business. It's taking you away from all of the everyday factors of the demands. And then you just have that period, that 5-minute period of time to yourself in your own mental space. This is incredibly important. People that are already religious, they're going to have a massive advantage in business. Your support system in terms of your friends and family, this is a massive area. This area is so underrated and so unspoken about and so sensitive, right? You want to be able to tap into people that have already been on this journey. And you want to be able to tap into people that are positive. And unfortunately, sometimes, we can't pick our family. And if we have relationships with friends that span over long periods of times, sometimes our friendships are based upon the time frames that we know people for. They're not really based upon the quality of the person, or they're not based upon you getting the needs that you need from the person. If you went to nursery school with someone, or primary school with someone, secondary school, this relationship sometimes can be based upon, the time frame and not actually you getting what you need from them to meet the objectives and to get it in the direction of where you see yourself, to build and create this legacy. I've had all of these problems. This isn't abnormal. You are not alone in this place. Loads of people are in this situation. And, I've met people where they've stopped talking to their mum. They've stopped talking to their own mother because she is not able to give her son what he needs. I'm not speaking about myself. I thought this was a bit crazy when I met this guy, but I've had many situations, some with my own parents as well, where I had to communicate things with them. And I'm very lucky that I'm a very good communicator. And I'm actually lucky that, my parents took on what I was saying pretty well. Once upon a time, one of them, I'll say my dad, because my mum will probably watch this. My dad might watch this too. But once upon a time with my dad, I wanted him to just ask me how I was. And a lot of the time, when you're this person at the forefront of business, you are somewhat the person that your family looks at as a person with all the answers. So they somewhat forget that you're human, right? You might be sick. They don't even want you to have a sick day. They're like, you need to get back outside. This is what we're used to. We're not used to you being ill. We're not used to you being in bed for a day or two. And they generally don't ask you how you are. They generally don't ask you how you are because it's not a part of the culture, right? The culture is to just see you executing, finishing things. That people forget to ask you, how are you? And you've got to be tough-skinned. Like, once you've created this culture, once you've got this business off the ground, once you've done 5 years running, working every day, more or less 7 days a week, you've had to pick your phone up any time of the day. There might be an emergency. Someone might have tried to break into the property. Something else has happened. I've had all types of things that I've had to deal with while running a business. There's something that happened yesterday that I'm going to be discussing with you. And I'm going to do it really quickly just so you can see the scope of some of the stuff that you might have to deal with. And this is the first time I've dealt with this after 15 years of running Minko's Max, and after, various amounts of properties, managing 7 at the moment. I've got 7 or 8 leases in my name at the moment. We're running out of 5 locations. We've got all types of affairs happening, but I'll tell you what happened yesterday really quickly. So I had my shop sign, had a gap in it. So then pigeons started going into the shop sign, right? So now they're coming in and out of the shop sign and they're just pooing on outside other people's houses, and the pigeons' homes are in the shop sign. So then I'm thinking to myself, right, I need to deal with this. I just contact someone I say, right, this person, can you get rid of pigeons? This guy turns up, rather than telling me this on the phone, he turns up And he's like, oh, we're not allowed to move the pigeons because there's a nest in there and there's eggs in the nest, right? First time I've ever encountered something like this, but this has got nothing to do with business. This has got nothing to do with making money. He tells me I'm now responsible for the nest. I'm responsible for the egg, the pigeons before they hatch in, all of this crazy stuff. So then I've got to do all this research. I've got to contact environmental health. They're saying you have to leave it until the eggs have hatched and all of this type of stuff. So anyway, the landlord then decides to deal with the pigeon issue themselves. I don't know what they done or how they done it. But when they done it, they knocked through my wall and then one of the pigeons flew into the shop. So I wasn't even aware that there was a pigeon flying around in the shop because the landlord had taken this upon himself to get the pigeons out because one of his tenants were complaining about who lived on the flat above. So now I've got to meet a particular type of cleaner tomorrow who can clean this in PPE and basically get the pigeon out of the shop and clean all the bird poo that's been, like, this is business. This is something that you wouldn't even mitigate for. You wouldn't even expect it to happen. This is some of the things that you've got to deal with. Like, come on, who's ever going to think of something like that? So like I said, this isn't glamorous. And then somebody puts the responsibility of the eggs on me, the pigeon's eggs. Like, this is madness. So your support network in keeping you focused during this all of these crazy things. And I can only thank God, right? That God has put some amazing people in my life. And if you're watching, you know who you are. I just want to say thank you. I have a great family. I've got a great family. I've got great friends. You know, but a lot of these people, I had to weed out the bad ones, right? So this is something that you're going to have to do yourself. And sometimes you might even have to create distance between people in your family until they just accept this new version of you, this new version of you that's going to make the legacy happen, this new version of you that's going to build something that's going to be bigger than who the average person is, this new version of you that's going to be determined to just not go into the routine of somebody else, what somebody else creates for you. Now, this isn't for everyone, and this is not to disrespect anyone that is doing that, because we all have to do that to some extent. But you want to be able to say to yourself, why are you doing this? What do you want to gain from this? Now, for me, you know, I love to see like an idea, something that just started with an idea. It wasn't the money for me. Like I said in episode 1, it's about adding value to the lives of others. The moment you do that, the money will follow, but you have to get the money factor out of your head, because you're not spending money. This isn't consumerism. You are not spending money, you are managing money. The skills here are completely different. This is something completely different that you've got to be ready for, right? So support system, support network. This is going to be probably one of the most important factors I can mention other than managing money. This is definitely up there at number 2. Make sure you're creating boundaries. Make sure you've got boundaries with people that are not believing in you, and make sure you've got boundaries of people that just want to take, and boundaries with people who think that your job is to just spend profits. You know, you've got to say no to some of those days out, you know. I remember when I first started, I had friends going into Faces nightclub right by Gants Hill with loads of celebrities, loads of footballers, all these Lennon and these Tottenham players, they're all in there. And these guys are spending hundreds of thousands of pounds. These guys are spending thousands of pounds. You know, like I've had a friend, I don't even know if he wants me to say his name, but I got a friend, you know, he was one of the most influential men in the UK. You know, I'll just say his name, Dean Forbes. I remember when he had the Billy party, what was it? He sold one of his companies for €1 billion. I believe he's still there and he's getting, you know, his target was 2 billion. And he surprised me so much, right? Because I remember him hitting that objective. Like, so I spoke to him at this billion party, you know, crazy party, right? And I remember at midnight, the bill at midnight, if I remember correctly, was £250,000 at midnight. And this party went on to like 7 or 8 a.m. Do you know what I mean? And I remember him paying it at like 1 a.m. or something like that, midnight to 1 a.m. And I thought to myself, £250,000, like, how do you pay that? Like, how does that get paid? Like, I didn't realize that a card that someone could just put their card in. That's the first time in my life I've seen someone put their card in basically a rented nightclub. The whole nightclub was his for the night. Put the card in and literally just type in 250,000 and it go through. And then I'm like, all right, but we still got another like 6 hours of partying. And then when 6 a.m. came, it was sort of like, the guy was like, oh yeah, he's got to cut off the party's got to cut off because you can get fined by Westminster Council if you make a certain amount of noise, right? And then he was sort of like, "What's the fine?" And then the guy was like 70 grand, and he was like, "Keep the music on." You know what I mean? So there's so much money out here, but I had to see that because it then made me see a different side of things. Do you know what I mean? It made me see, okay, like this is real. You know, like this rarely does happen. But what else could happen in that situation, in that scenario? What else is supposed to happen? Because there's different levels to business, right? But you've just got to be fierce. You got to be fierce. You got to have fire. You got to have the support system. You know, the right friends. You've got to know when to tap into people and when to step away. But going back to the Faces nightclub, when my friends were in there with the Tottenham players, Lennon and these guys, I'm a person, I like to give. So if I see you buy, you know, a couple of bottles to get the night started, or you paid for dinner last time, I'm gonna pay for dinner next time, right? But if the entry fee, yeah, if the entry fee to dinner is like 10 grand, or the entry fee to dinner is like 20 grand, or the entry fee to the bottles is like 10, 20 grand, I just basically more or less have to remove myself. Like, I'm basically not ready to be here yet because I can't afford to spend 20 grand on our drinks. I just can't afford to do it. You know, and I can admit that to myself, and I can say, as much as this night has inspired me, I have to take this night as inspiration, and then I have to go away and work on myself, right? So this isn't something that I can, you know, participate in as a culture. I can't be a part of this sport. Where I am now, I can't be a part of this sport. I'm building, you know. And then once you get to the phase of right, your business, and I don't even know if I do that unless I got a big commission on something that sold. So if I sold something and I know, right, I sold that, my commission was £1 million, you know, my commission was £500,000, or then I might be able to say, guys, 50 grand on dinner tonight, that's on me, or 100 grand on, you know, this tonight, that's on me. And in Dean's case, it's not every day you meet someone or see someone that sells a company or has a share in a company that sold for €1 billion, or a commission for you, a bonus on something that sold for more than what you was advised to sell it for, right? So I hope that helps in a sense of the support network, right? So London isn't just financial. London is emotional. There's so many different emotional factors that go into London, and this is something that we all have to take into consideration: the stress, the pressure, the expectations, the responsibility. You know, you're not just carrying a business. You're not just carrying a business. You're carrying people's livelihoods, right? Now, for me, working in tech and sometimes in business, like I said, when you bring value to others, you are fully aware of all of the other things that people need. Why are they coming to you? Like, why do these people come to you? What do they need from you, right? Now, when somebody has a need rather than a want, yeah, this is all about their livelihoods, right? So for me, I am fully aware that most people are using computer systems or various versions of tech as an extension of themselves. They're using computers as every single day habits, behavior, and an everyday tool. It's an everyday tool in today's day and age in general, right? It doesn't matter what type of work you do. At some point in time, you're going to be inputting something into tech, whether it's a computer, whether it's taking call on a phone, whether it's sending an email, whether it's an invoice, whatever you're doing, tech is somewhat involved. So when people walk into my business, I'm fully aware that they're trusting me with sensitive information. I'm fully aware that this is something they're going to need back fast. This is what separates my company from the other companies on the high street. This is why the majority of companies on the high street are closed. And it's a very tough environment. I can't say that to rub that in anybody's face, because I have to give thanks to God, and I have to give thanks to my team, and I have to give thanks to my support network. All of the people that are supporting me, that are pushing me forward, that are saying positive words to why I'm still here today. All of my friends, like I said before, I thank you, right? But you have people's livelihoods in your hands. Now, this is something that you shouldn't be abusing. This is something that you should be aware of, right? So for me, if I get this back to you as quick as possible, I am keeping you within what you need to do, right? Now, let me just break this down for you so you can understand the way I look at it, yeah? So I see it as, in today's day and age, we have the solo brand boom, right? And people's phones is how they're keeping in contact with family members and loved ones, right? If I get this device back to you as soon as possible, you can get straight back to work. So it's all about you having no downtime. If I've got your device for 2 to 3 days, now for me, that's a long time. Yeah. If this is a working tool, 2 to 3 days is a long time. Most people are earning on average around £120 a day, £100 to £120 a day, right? So if the repair, let's just say for argument's sake, is £150 to £300, our average repair is about £400, right? Like, I need to get this back to you on the same day. If it takes me 3 days or 4 days to get it back to you, how much money have you potentially lost? Now, if you're losing more money than the repair cost, you might as well just go and buy a new one, right? But I don't want to put you in that environment. This is not where I exist. I understand that I'm being trusted with people's livelihoods, and I'm going to be so fast that when you think about your experience, or you think about what you've missed out on, or when you think about what you've potentially lost, I want that to be as close to only 1 day's work, if half a day's work at the most. So in some cases, I might even say, look, keep this until the part comes. It's usable until the part comes. When the part comes, you're in this part of the queue, and this will be 2 to 3 hours. Loads of people have had this experience with me, right? So they can tell I'm responsible. This is a responsibility that comes with running a business. So this is pressure. But pressure builds leadership. You do not run from pressure. Within business, whatever goes wrong, do not run. If anything, one of my secrets is I actually chase the customer. So when you come in and use me, you're going to get a follow-up message. Anyone that's used me will know you've gotten a follow-up message. Is everything okay? A couple of days pass. Is everything okay? Do you need help with anything? Do you have any questions? Do you have any queries? Yeah? Most people will be like, oh, wow, that's nice. So I'm chasing you. I'm asking you, is there anything you need from me? We do not run from pressure. Any problems that arise, this is where leadership is built. This is where you will become a leader. Do not run from pressure, right? So we've got our mental space. We're building a support network, and you're not suffering alone because you've picked the right friends and families to be around, and you've created a boundary with others. So if you're thinking about starting a business in London, don't be scared, be prepared. And if you're already with me in London, running a London business, let's just remember that pressure, it doesn't break us, it shapes us. From the Ground Up podcast, this podcast is for people who want the truth, who want structure, and who want real leadership. This isn't about Instagram fantasy and social media fantasy. This is about really being on the ground and really building something from the ground up, and building something that lasts. Like, comment, subscribe, give us a follow. You know the drill. Share any information that you think will help other entrepreneurs within our network. Thank you for your time.